The celebration of peace. The stars burned gently above the capital world of the Galactic Council, and for the first time in many decades, the air was filled not with fear but with laughter. The war had ended, the enemy had been crushed, and peace had been signed across the stars. Every race, every species, every delegate that could travel had come to the shining city of Calvoro Prime to celebrate the end of darkness. Bright lights floated above the towers, banners of every empire waving proudly. Alien children danced in the streets, traitors sang their victory songs, and even the most hardened soldiers allowed themselves to breathe without the weight of battle. The council chambers overflowed with voices, each one speaking of a future free of fear. 1,000 speeches promised trust, unity, and a new golden age. At the center of the grand stage sat the council leaders, smiling and shaking hands. They spoke of how all had worked together to stop chaos. They praised the great fleets of the Seraki, the clever strategies of the Drathan, the unbreakable spirit of the Veil. Each species received cheers, and their flags waved high above the chamber. Yet when it was humanity's turn, the applause was polite, but short. The humans had been quiet during the war. They had signed agreements, sent diplomats, and offered food and aid. But they had never revealed a great fleet, never shown massive armies, never joined the final decisive battle. To most of the galaxy, humanity seemed weak. They were survivors, not warriors. Their role in peace was accepted, but never respected, and so while the galaxy rejoiced, many voices whispered that humans had simply hidden while others bled. Ambassador Kalen of Earth stood in his simple gray robe, his hands folded before him. He gave a short bow, his face calm. His words were soft, carried through the chamber. Without pride, he thanked the council, thanked the allies, thanked the galaxy for choosing peace. But he said little else. He did not boast. He did not brag. He did not claim glory. Around him, alien leaders smirked. Some mocked him quietly. Some asked why humans had not fought, why they had not brought forth fleets like others did. Their voices carried amusement. They thought humans had survived only because stronger species had protected them. To the galaxy, Earth was now safe only by luck. Still, Kalen did not answer their jests. He only smiled, bowed again, and returned to his seat. A few young delegates laughed, calling humanity the quiet ones, saying that perhaps they had nothing to fight with. To them, Earth was a world of farmers and merchants, not of warriors. The music of celebration rose higher. Dancers spun across the marble floors. Fireworks burst above the city's sky dome, showering sparks of gold and silver. The galaxy was drunk on its own victory. They believed the future was secure. They believed no shadow could return. Yet far from the city, far from the council halls, a signal flickered in the silence of space. A lone scout vessel of the Villari picked up a strange reading near the dark edges of the system. It was faint, almost invisible, like a distortion in the stars. The young pilot frowned, checking his instruments again and again. The stars were moving, but only for a moment, like something massive was bending the light. He sent a message to the nearest outpost, warning that something vast was out there. The reply came back with laughter. The war was over, they said. Peace had been signed. The pilot was told to rest his mind. He tried to argue, but the line cut short. The galaxy wanted peace, and so it would blind itself to all else. In the council chambers, the leaders drank to a new age. Their speeches promised that history would remember this day as the birth of eternal peace. Yet among the shadows, one human delegate leaned close to another, his voice so low only she could hear. "They are too happy," he whispered. "Too sure, too blind." The woman's eyes narrowed. Her gaze drifted toward the stars above the sky dome. She said nothing, but her silence was heavy, as if she carried a secret no one else could guess. The celebration stretched into the night. Across the city, alien families feasted. Soldiers drank, and leaders congratulated one another. Not a single being suspected that the peace they celebrated was fragile. Not a single being believed that in the dark something vast and hidden was waiting. The galaxy rejoiced at peace. But humanity knew peace was never permanent. Humanity knew that shadows never vanished. They only waited. And somewhere beyond the stars, the first movement of a hidden warship began, unseen by all who laughed below. Whispers of fear. The scout pilot could not sleep. His mind replayed the image of the stars bending, twisting, like something massive and silent was hiding just beyond sight. He had seen ships before, fleets of war, but nothing had ever bent light itself. He sent the report again, marking it urgent. But the reply was the same as before, laughter and dismissal. The council no longer wanted to hear of shadows. Still, the whispers began. Rumors spread through the border colonies. Some claimed they had seen a dark shape moving against the starlight. Others spoke of hearing strange signals, low and heavy, like the breath of some sleeping beast. The people called it the Terran ghost. They said humanity had built something, hidden, something terrible. The council tried to crush the rumors. They sent messages saying there was no threat. They said peace was real. They said shadows were only fear. Yet the more they denied it, the stronger the whispers grew. In the marketplaces of distant worlds, merchants leaned close and spoke of a warship that could not be seen. A warship that carried silence like a weapon. Ambassador Kalen heard these whispers as he walked the great halls of Calvaro Prime. His steps were calm, his face unchanged, but inside his mind was a storm. Humanity had prepared for this moment. Humanity had not trusted the peace that others celebrated so quickly. For years, Earth had hidden its hand, watching, waiting, while the galaxy mocked them as weak. During one council session, an alien leader from the proud Drathan stood and sneered at Kalen. His voice boomed across the chamber. Your people did not fight. You did not bleed. Why do you even sit among us, little human? Laughter followed, heavy and cruel. The words echoed like knives in the chamber. Kalen rose slowly. His eyes were calm. His voice was soft. Yet every corner of the chamber carried his words. Peace is fragile, he said. It can vanish faster than your laughter. His words were met with more jeers. They said humans loved riddles because they had no strength to speak of. They mocked his gray robe, his quiet tone. They believed Earth had nothing, but outside the council chambers some listened more closely. A few soldiers whispered that the humans' words carried warning, not weakness. A few young cadets traded stories about hidden Terran fleets, fleets that had never been counted in the records of the war, fleets that might still wait, silent in the dark. On the colonies, fear began to grow. Border outposts sent out extra patrols. Children pointed at the sky when a star seemed to flicker. Families locked their doors at night even though no enemy was near. Peace was real, yet fear lived in the air. Fear that humanity was hiding something. Beyond imagination, in the council chambers, Kalen remained silent. He answered questions politely. He bowed when spoken to. But in his silence there was weight, a weight that unsettled those who mocked him. They laughed, but their laughter grew thinner. The whispers of fear spread faster than their speeches of peace. And then one night, the Velari scout pilot sent one final desperate transmission. His voice cracked with terror as he described a fast shadow drifting past his ship. He swore it was a warship, larger than any he had ever seen. Its presence made his systems flicker. His sensors shut down as if the very stars refused to reveal it. His words ended with silence. His ship never reported again. The council dismissed the report as false. They called it an accident. They told the galaxy not to fear. But in the quiet halls of Earth's embassy, Kalen received the recording. He listened to the trembling voice of the scout. His hand closed. Slowly around the device, his eyes grew darker. He whispered only to himself, soon. The mockery of Earth. The council chamber was filled with light and sound. Voices from every corner of the galaxy rose in celebration. They congratulated themselves for holding peace. They praised their fleets, their leaders, their victories. The Saraki commander stood tall, reminding all that his people had broken the enemy's lines. The Drathan admiral claimed his strategies had saved a dozen worlds. One after another they spoke, and each one received thunderous applause. When it came time for humanity to speak, the mood shifted. The applause softened. The room grew heavy with quiet amusement. Ambassador Kalen stood, dressed in the same simple robe he always wore. He bowed his head respectfully, and gave thanks to the council for welcoming Earth among them. He spoke gently of peace, of unity, of hope for the stars. His words were calm, his tone humble. But as his speech ended, a Siraki delegate leaned back in his chair and laughed. "The humans thank us," he said. "Yet what did they do? They hid behind their walls. They sent food, yes, but no fleets, no warriors, no sacrifice." His words spread through the chamber like fire. Laughter erupted, sharp and cruel. Another delegate added, "Perhaps they did not fight because they had no ships. Perhaps Earth is nothing but stories, of old bravery, not reality." The chamber shook with mocking cheers. Some even clapped as if the insults were entertainment. Kalen stood in silence, his face unchanged. His eyes were steady, calm as stone. He raised one hand, waiting for quiet. "Peace is not earned by laughter," he said. "It is earned by the choices we make when the stars turn dark." His voice was soft, but it cut through the chamber like a blade. For a moment silence touched the room. Yet soon the mocking voices returned, louder than before. The Drathan admiral sneered. "Big words from a quiet world. Tell me, human, where were your warriors when fleets burned? Where were your shadows when the void was red?" His words were sharp. They rang in the ears of the council. Every eye turned toward Kalen, waiting for his reply. Kalen bowed his head. "Perhaps," he said. "You should ask where they are now." The words were simple, but the weight behind them unsettled some. A ripple of unease moved through the chamber. Yet most dismissed it, choosing laughter over fear, choosing pride over caution. Outside the council chambers, the whispers grew stronger. Soldiers in the barracks spoke quietly of Earth. Some believed humanity had fleets hidden in the void. Others said Earth had no power at all. The two stories clashed, but the doubt remained. For every alien who mocked, there was another who wondered if the human silence was not weakness. But warning, Kalen returned to his quarters. His steps were slow, his hands folded behind his back. In the dim light of his room, he looked at a small star map projected on the wall. He traced his finger across a dark region far beyond the known borders. His eyes narrowed. His lips moved in words too quiet for even the walls to hear. "Not yet," he whispered. "They are not ready to see." Meanwhile, on the distant colonies, people repeated the jokes of the council. They called humans cowards. They painted pictures of Terrans hiding in caves. They sold little toys of human diplomats bowing and begging for peace. The galaxy laughed, but laughter hides fear, and in every laugh was a seed of doubt. A young cadet in the Veil fleet wrote in her journal, "The humans frighten me. They say nothing, they show nothing, and yet their eyes seem to know more than we do. Perhaps they hold something behind the dark." Her words were never spoken aloud, but they reflected the growing unease across the stars. The council chamber prepared for another session. The banners of peace hung from the ceiling. The leaders polished their speeches, ready to once again mock the quiet ones. But far beyond their shining world, in the cold dark of space, a shadow moved ever so slightly, bending the starlight once again. Unseen, unknown, waiting. And in the silence of Earth's embassy, Kalen wrote a single message, his hand steady, his eyes calm. "They are blind," the message said, "and soon the shadow will teach them to see." The flicker in the stars, the city of Calvoro Prime was alive with music and light. Above the shining towers, fireworks painted the sky dome with rivers of gold and silver. The council had declared a festival of peace, and every street overflowed with voices, laughter, and color. Banners stretched across bridges, parades filled. The squares in the galaxy danced as if war had never existed. Children of the Siraki species carried glowing lanterns. Veil singers filled the air with deep songs of victory. Merchants offered food and drink to strangers as though they were family. The world was dressed in joy, and the leaders of the council smiled proudly from their marble balconies. To them, this was the proof of their triumph, the sign that peace was real and unshakable. Yet as the fireworks burst above, deep in the command towers of the defense fleet, an officer frowned at his display. A flicker appeared on the long-range sensors. It lasted only a second, then vanished. He tapped the controls, scanned again, and found nothing. The computer marked it as interference, but the officer felt a chill run through him. He called for a second scan. The flicker returned, faint, distant, almost invisible. It was not a ship signal, not a star, not debris. It was something that bent the light like a ripple in a still pond. His heart beat faster. He whispered to himself, "That is no error." He reported the finding to his commander, but the reply was a sigh. "Ignore it," the commander said. "The council will not hear of shadows tonight." The officer tried again, but the order was clear. Shut down the alert, mark it as background noise, and return to the celebration in the great chamber of the council. Alien leaders raised their cups to the stars. They shouted speeches of glory, praising themselves, mocking Earth again with laughter. Kalen sat in silence, his eyes fixed on the fireworks above. He did not smile. He did not clap. His gaze was heavy, as if searching for something far beyond. The painted sky, among the guests, whispers began. Some soldiers had heard about the flicker. Some remembered the scout pilot who vanished after sending his last desperate message. Their voices were low, careful, but growing. A Terran shadow, a ghost ship, a weapon no one had ever seen. In the outer colonies, miners reported strange gaps in the stars, as if something massive was passing, blotting out light for only a second. They sent messages to the council, but the replies were the same. Peace is real. Fear is false. Trust the council. Yet the miners locked their homes tighter, and children whispered of the monster star. That night, as the festival reached its height, the fireworks suddenly froze in the sky dome. The lights glitched, the sound system stuttered. For one brief instant, every screen across the city flickered into static. The people gasped, but the moment passed. The music resumed, the lights returned, and the council laughed it away. "A harmless fault," they said. But Kalen did not laugh. His hand clenched tight around the railing of his seat. His lips moved in a whisper. "It begins." Above the city, in the endless dark beyond the system, the flicker grew stronger. A vast distortion shifted slowly, bending the stars into broken shapes. No sound, no light, only silence so deep it felt alive. A shadow moved, unseen, uncounted, patient, and as the galaxy cheered for peace, the Terran warship stirred for the first time. The first roar of the shadow. The celebration was still burning bright on Calvoro Prime. The council chambers glowed with light. The music never stopped, and the people shouted the promise of peace into the night sky, yet far beyond their world. Beyond the reach of their joy, something vast broke its silence. On the edge of the system, sensors that had been marked as faulty lit up red again. The same flicker returned, stronger now, spreading like a crack across the screen. The young officer who had first noticed it sat frozen at his station. His hands trembled as the readings climbed. The distortion no longer looked like a ripple. It looked like a wall. He tried to raise the alarm, but his commander silenced him once more. "This is nothing. The council will not hear your fear. Stand down." Yet even as the words left his mouth, the distortion grew, and the stars themselves seemed to vanish one by one. They winked out, swallowed by an invisible shape. Then it happened. The air around the patrol fleet shimmered, bent and tore itself apart. Out of the darkness, the Terran warship decloaked, black and monstrous, its hull stretching like a floating mountain of iron. Its surface was covered in scars and silent weapon towers. Its engines glowed like the eyes of a predator awakened from sleep. Every alien officer on the patrol ships froze. None of them had seen anything like it. Their fleets, built for numbers and speed, looked like toys beside this single Terran shadow. The warship moved slowly, but every second of its movement carried weight. It was not rushing. It was not afraid. It was showing itself with purpose. A voice crackled through the comms, cold and human. "You celebrated too soon." The words echoed like thunder across the channels. The officers panicked, scrambling for responses. Some shouted warnings, others begged for guidance. Their commanders ordered weapons charged, but their hands shook as they obeyed. The Terran warship did not fire at once. Instead, its hull lit with lines of red, energy pulsing like veins of molten fire. Then its cannons roared. The first blast tore through the void like lightning. A patrol ship shattered instantly, breaking into burning fragments that spun into the dark. The shockwave rolled across the system, rattling every station and outpost. On Calvoro Prime, the fireworks suddenly dimmed. The music faltered. The council's command screens filled with emergency signals. Dozens of voices cried out. Unknown vessel detected, patrol fleet destroyed, the shadow is real. Panic spread like fire. The council chamber erupted in shouting. Leaders demanded answers. Some screamed at their admirals. Others tried to deny the reports, but the images were already clear. On the holoscreens, the Terran warship towered in silence, a living shadow among the stars. Ambassador Kalen rose from his seat. His calm face unsettled the chamber more than the alarms. He spoke in a steady tone. You believed peace was forever. You laughed at shadows, you mocked us. And now the shadow has come. His words silenced the room, even as the chaos outside grew louder. In the void, the warship turned, slowly, deliberately. Its weapons recharged, its engines flared. The patrol fleet broke, scattering in terror. Some tried to run, others tried to fight, but their weapons sparked uselessly against the Terran hull. The warship did not rush to destroy them. It let them run. It let them scream. It showed them how powerless they were. The galaxy had believed Earth was weak, a world of diplomats and merchants, but this was no weakling's creation. This was a predator built in silence, hidden while the council mocked. Trained while the galaxy celebrated, the first roar of the shadow had come, and it shook every world to its core. The collapse of illusion. The first strike had ended the laughter. The galaxy, once drunk on peace, now trembled in fear. Messages poured into the council chamber, cries of terror from patrol fleets and colonies. The shadow warship was real, and it was unstoppable. The council leaders shouted over one another. Their proud speeches were gone, replaced by desperate questions. How big is it? How many are there? Can it be destroyed? No answer came. The fleets they trusted were breaking apart like glass. On the outer rim, the Terran warship advanced. Each slow movement shattered illusions. The alien fleets tried to surround it, firing in waves of light. Their beams struck the hull, but the warship did not falter. The shots scattered like rain against stone. The silence of the Terran vessel was louder than any roar. The alien ship screamed distress calls. Our weapons do nothing. Our shields collapse. We cannot hold. One ship after another fell. Some burned. Some vanished in explosions. Others simply drifted dead in space. The warship passed through them without haste, leaving wreckage in its wake. Back on Calvoro Prime, the council's grand celebration had collapsed into panic. Families fled the streets. The fireworks stopped. The music died. Soldiers rushed to defend the capital, but their faces showed the truth. They were afraid. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy saw itself weak. Ambassador Kalen stood quietly in the chamber. His calm presence cut through the chaos. Leaders turned to him, demanding answers. What is this? How did you hide this? Why did you not tell us? His eyes narrowed, and his voice carried across the chamber. Peace was never yours to give, he said. It was ours to allow. You mocked us because you did not see the shadow. You thought us weak because we did not show our blade. But every day you laughed, we prepared. And now the shadow has chosen to remind you. The council erupted again. Some cursed him, some begged him to stop the warship, but Kalen gave no promises. He simply watched the chaos unfold. The room that once celebrated peace now drowned in fear. In the void, the Terran warship turned. Toward the next fleet, its cannons glowed once more. It fired, and the sky burned. Dozens of alien ships shattered in a storm of light and silence. The survivors fled, leaving their allies behind. The warship hunted none. It only moved forward, showing its strength and leaving fear in its path. Across the colonies, panic became truth. The whispers were no longer rumors. They were screams. They called the Terran warship the shadow of Earth. Some prayed, some cursed. Some tried to deny, but none could ignore. Humanity had hidden its strength, and now the galaxy could see it clearly. One veiled general broke down in tears before his soldiers. We thought them merchants. We thought them farmers. But this ship could end worlds. His words spread faster than the Council's denials. Fear became the new language of the stars. Back in the Council chamber, Kalen spoke once more, his tone calm and final. This is only the beginning. What you see is one ship, one shadow among many. You believed peace was forever, but you built that peace on arrogance. And now, the illusion has collapsed. Silence followed. The leaders who once mocked Earth no longer laughed. They stared at the human ambassador with wide, hollow eyes, and in that silence the truth became clear. The galaxy was no longer master of peace. Humanity was the keeper of the shadow. The shadow rules the stars. The warship lingered in the void like a black mountain, silent and unshaken. Around it floated the ruins of fleets that once believed themselves unbreakable. The fire of broken ships drifted like candles in the dark. Yet the Terran vessel glowed steady, its weapons cooling with slow, patient rhythm. On Calvoro Prime, the Council chamber was silent. The leaders who had mocked Earth sat pale and trembling. Their voices gone, their pride shattered. No one laughed now. No one cheered for peace. They had seen the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not harmless. Humanity had hidden the sharpest blade of all. Ambassador Kalen stood at the center of the chamber. His eyes moved from one leader to another. You thought yourselves masters of peace, he said. You thought your fleets could guard the stars. But you never asked why humanity stayed silent. You never wondered what we kept, hidden. His voice carried like iron, heavy and undeniable. Outside, the people panicked. Families crowded into shelters. Soldiers raced to the defense towers. But none of it mattered, for they knew no wall could stop the shadow across the colonies. Messages spread. Whispers turned to prayers. Some begged Earth for mercy, others cursed it, but all feared it. The shadow of humanity was now the truth of the galaxy. The warship moved again, slow as a drifting planet. Its engines rumbled like thunder carried through the void, but it did not fire again. It did not chase. It did not destroy every ship it could, it simply showed itself. A single warning carved in darkness. A message echoed across every frequency, spoken in the same cold human voice. Peace is not lost. Peace is ours to give or take, remember this. The message repeated again and again, until it reached every corner of the stars. On worlds far away, children cried as they heard it. Miners dropped their tools in silence. Generals crushed their own medals in shame. For the galaxy understood now. Peace had never been theirs. It had been a gift, and the hand that gave it could just as easily close into a fist. Back in the chamber, Kalen turned to leave. The council begged for answers. Some called after him. How many ships are there? How many shadows do you hide? But he did not answer. His silence was heavier than words. His steps echoed like judgment. Far beyond Calvoro Prime, the warship flickered again. Its massive form blurred, bent, and then vanished into the dark. The stars returned as if nothing had ever been there, but the memory remained, a scar in the minds of all who had seen. The galaxy whispered in fear. Was it only one ship, or the first of many? Did Earth hide a fleet of shadows? Waiting in the dark, the questions had no answers, and that silence was more frightening than any roar. In the quiet that followed, the galaxy knew the truth. Peace was no longer theirs to shape. It belonged to humanity. To the shadows they commanded. And in every council hall, in every soldier's heart, in every child's whisper, one thought remained: the shadow rules the stars.